Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie and today we are doing a spring cleaning of my bookshelves. Yes, spring is finally in the air. It is gorgeous. The weather is turning around. I am just having the best time watching the flowers bloom and the leaves come back. It's just, it is warming my soul, and I do love a spring cleaning. So what we are doing today is part one, and the next week's video will be part two. This is going to be me unhauling a bunch of books from my red shelves. And I mean, I have like a ton of books to go over. So we're going to be getting into it. Obviously this is going to be a big unhaul video. So I obviously did not love these books. So if you are not really one for that kind of negativity, I understand. But personally, me, I love unhaul videos. I love watching them. I love doing them just to kind of combat the book haul phenomenon on BookTube. I like to do book unhauls. So today, this is part one. Part two is actually going to be unhauling from my TBR shelves. So my unread books. That one's going to be spicy. That is for next week. Stay tuned for that. And before I get into all of this, I did just want to mention and just like say that I have, even though I've been trying to get out videos on a weekly basis, I have felt like I have been kind of just not very present recently. And that is still due to the fact that I am just not reading a lot right now, actually. My physical reading has like completely dropped off a cliff. I'm just still not really in the mood, basically in the entire month of February. And this is why I didn't do a February wrap up. I haven't even like done my spring TBR plans because I didn't read very much in February, and I don't really want to make it spring TBR right now because I'm not reading much. I am still reading a lot, or like not a lot, definitely less than I had been before. I'm still reading a little bit via audiobooks. I'm trying to get through some audiobooks for the BookTube prize, which I've mentioned on this channel before that I am participating in for the first time. So I am working to get through those books, mostly on audio. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I am just not really in the mood to read right now. I think I'm really busy with work. I'm kind of also going through some things, just a transitional time. I might be looking to change my positions, so at jobs and things. So it's like, I don't know. There's just something is not calling me to reading as a hobby right now. And I considered just being like, you know what? I'm gonna just take an extended break from BookTube, but I don't know. I don't want to like just fully give up yet. I'm just gonna keep going at this pace and we'll see what happens. But that's the truth of the matter. I am not reading a whole bunch, so that's why, hence this video instead. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. Like I said, this stack is like literally massive. So yeah, this is gonna be books that I have been collecting since like the end of 2024 that I haven't taken to where I take my used books. But anyway, first up, Old Soul by Susan Barker. I just made a video reviewing this book. This is really upsetting to me. It's really upsetting because I paid full price for this. This was my February book that I bought. I'm only buying one book new per month this year, and this was my one for January or February, I don't remember. Got it like literally the day it came out. It was one of my most anticipated reads of 2025, and it flopped. I made a video about it. It was just, I thought this was going to be like a fun literary horror, and it was just not very fun, and it was also not very scary. So I don't know, it kind of did nothing for me, and I'm upset about it. Next up, we have Near the Bone, which I DNF'd halfway through. I actually got a good way through it. I did this for the Winterween video that I made, and I just did not have a good time. You can hear my thoughts in that video, but I did end up DNFing this. I just was a little bit confused because I do get the premise, like I get what was going on here. I do get it, but it just didn't work for me. I felt that like it was a little bit odd how we were doing both like a creature horror and then also this like social horror, which I think could work if a better writer did it, but Christina Henry, I'm sorry, this was kind of a mess. I'll do these two together. I have Sundial and Little Eve by Catriona Ward. Also sad for me. So here's the thing, I did read Sundial in its entirety. I actually listened to it on audio, and I should have DNF'd it. I pushed on. And then this one, Little Eve, I recently, like back in like, you know, January or something like that, I was listening to this on audio, and honestly, like it was not as bad. Like I was enjoying it more than I enjoyed Sundial, but at some point I was just like, I just don't know. I'm just done. And I stopped reading it, and I'm going to unhaul both of these, which is sad because what happened is that when I read Looking Glass Sound by Catriona Ward, I became obsessed with her, and I went out and I went to this used bookstore, and they had all of her books in hardcover. So I just got them all. And as it turned out, I have not loved any Catriona Ward book as much as I loved Looking Glass Sound. So that kind of maybe was like a little bit of a one-hit wonder for me, but we'll see, because she does have another book coming out in 2025. And if that book does not hit, if that one does not work for me, I am just going to have to accept the fact that Looking Glass Sound was just its own thing for me. And maybe I don't love Catriona Ward as an author so much as I love that book, which would be sad, and I hope it's not true. But I did not care for these two. Next up, we have The Book of George by Kate Greathead. This was like an ARC copy that I got, and I really did want to read this because my husband, his name is George, and this is like supposed to be a satire about like the contemporary dating scene and modern men and things like that. And so my perception of this book was that it would be funny and like just lighthearted and engaging. And then I started reading it, and it was not lighthearted at all. Like it was, I don't know, like the voice was really weird and like intense. And then I was like, not sure if I wanted to continue on with it. And so I looked on Goodreads, and people were just saying that like, they were like, this is not like a fun book. Like bad things happen to this person. He also does bad things. He's just not an enjoyable person, which like, I do get that it's supposed to be satire. Like I'm not expecting the character to be a good person, but it was just not what I thought I was getting into. So I was just like, okay, I'm not interested. I really wanted something lighthearted and fun, and that was not this. Next up we have When We Were Orphans by Kazuo Ishiguro. Very sad about this. This was our pick for the Backlist Book Club for the end of 2024. Here's that video. We had a full discussion about this book. And yeah, I'm really sad about this because I love Ishiguro. Never Let Me Go is one of my favorite books of all time. And I really thought that I would love this, but it is really just not that, it's just not that interesting. It's quite dull. I love Ishiguro's writing style, but halfway through this book, I was like, we have got to be getting to the point. It's very slow, and I just don't think that it's all that impactful. I don't feel like the juice is worth the squeeze when it comes to this book. So yeah, I'm done with it. Next up, we have Mary by Nat Cassidy. I've had this book on my TBR for a long time. I did try to read it. I got to maybe like 150 pages. And this is kind of a case where I bought Nestlings and I bought Mary at the same time. And because I was convinced I would love this, because like everybody loves this book. This is a horror possession book. I think it's possession. About like a woman who is like going through menopause, and it's like kind of connected to that. I don't know. I say that because like it's an older character, and I think a lot of people really like to see older characters in books. We don't see them that often. So, you know, I was looking forward to that. However, after I read Nestlings, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know that Nat Cassidy's going to be for me. And then I tried to read this, and I was like, yeah, Nat Cassidy is really, really, really not for me. I just don't like his writing style. I think that like he does have good ideas. I just cannot deal with his author voice. I can't deal with his writing style. And this book was so long, and I was just like, I can't listen to this any longer. Like I really cannot deal with it. I have also since read this like novella. What is this one called? I don't know. The one with the eyes. I don't really remember what it's called. This one. I read that one, and I was like, I think that this one was actually like a little bit more fun, but still the Nat Cassidy writing style is not for me. So I think this is the last time I'm going to pick up a Nat Cassidy. Next up, we have A Love Song from Ricky, Wild by Tia Williams, a book I did try to read, but I just don't really care for romance. I really genuinely did try, and I thought that like it was kind of cute at first, but in my heart of hearts, I just don't care about a romance, and that's it. Oh, this one doesn't really count. Private Rights by Julia Arnfield. I actually have another copy of this, and don't want to drop it, but I have this cover, and I pre-ordered this one not knowing that it would be in the aardvark box, and I like this cover better. So this one, I haven't read it yet. It's just going. I have 2 copies. Then we have Tomb Sweeping by Alexandra Chang. This is like a short story collection about mostly like I think it's like Chinese women and families. I think that they're Chinese. I really can't remember. I read this at the end of 2024, maybe like November. I don't even remember when I read this. I listened to it on audiobook. I thought it was pretty good. A short story collection. I thought it was okay. But really what this book taught me was that I don't know that contemporary fiction short stories really work for me. I did enjoy some ideas in here. I was just like, I don't think that the short story aspect did anything. The format just didn't do anything for me. If I'm going to read short stories, I would prefer them to be horror or speculative, or maybe even like humor. I don't know. But definitely contemporary, just like regular everyday life in short story form is not working for me. So while I thought this one was okay, I did kind of find it like pretty forgettable for the most part, aside from like a couple small moments. And again, I do think that is just because contemporary short story, that format, it doesn't work in my opinion. And then we have Airplane Mode, An Irreverent History of Travel by Shanaz Habib. I read this actually all the way back in I started it back in April of 2024, and then I think I finally got around to finishing it in like November. Read half of it physically, listened to the other half on audio. I thought this was okay. It was just not what I thought it was going to be, which is like fine. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for when I picked it up. An Irreverent History of Travel. I love travel, and I was very excited to see this perspective. This is basically a memoir, which I didn't even know. I mean, I expect that there's going to be like a little bit of personal connection, like I enjoy that in, reading about nonfiction. I enjoy when the author has like a personal connection. Obviously that's why they're writing it. Like I enjoy hearing about that, but this is actually just like basically a full-on memoir. And it is a memoir about a woman who immigrated into the US and how how that process really affected her view of travel, and how also when she immigrated to the US, she also like went up a lot in like class status. So it's really her talking about travel from the perspective of a now wealthier person, and kind of just thinking about how her life in her home country and with her family growing up, she was like very, very poor, and just the way that it kind of created this like cognitive dissonance in her mind when it came to travel. And also I think it's a lot about how Americans, and white Americans specifically, have just like such an abundance of privilege when it comes to traveling specifically. And so that, a lot of stuff was interesting in there, and I did enjoy it. However, I don't know if like it really is an irreverent history of travel. Like I don't think it is so much a history as just this like one woman's memoir interspersed with pieces of history. So it's more of a memoir, and I just wasn't expecting that, but I think it was okay. I just don't ever really see myself rereading this. Oh, and then I actually have a book here that I didn't end up reading. That is Look in the Mirror by Catherine Stedman. I was kind of influenced to pick up this book, even though I don't like thrillers. I don't know. I just had like a one moment where I was like, okay, maybe I'll try to read it, but I have never reached for this book, and I have honestly like never, apart from like a handful of times in my life, have ever been like craving a thriller. So I don't know why I got this. Was probably impulse decision, and also I had some aardvark credits that I needed to use up. Then we have Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan. I read this in summer of 2024, and yeah, I mean, it was okay. I actually did like it. Like, I didn't dislike my experience with this. I had a good time. I just don't think I'm ever going to reread it, and I haven't thought about it. I have not thought about it once since I read it, so that's like a sign to me that I don't really need to keep it on my bookshelves. I thought this was fine, and I would recommend this if you are interested in like glitz and glamour and weddings and world travel, and like it has all of that juicy stuff that is really fun. Like, I would recommend it if you are looking for something like that. I've talked a lot about this book in my like wrap up of whenever I read it. I did enjoy this a lot. Oh wait, did I even put this in my wedding video? I might have even put this in my wedding video. I can't remember when I read it, but I did enjoy it. I'm not going to reread it, and it doesn't need to be on my shelves. And finally, the last two books for today, actually 2 books that I didn't read, but they are The Passenger and Stella Maris by Cormac McCarthy. I bought these when they were released, which at this point was like over 5 years ago. I don't even remember. I don't remember when these were released. I always meant to get to them because for a second I thought that I could read Cormac McCarthy. I read The Road and it was fine. But then some really horrible things came out about Cormac McCarthy, and I was like, well, I don't need to read him. I don't need to read him ever again, and I will not. So I immediately took these off my shelf and said, I'm not reading those. So there you have it. Those are all of the books that I am unhauling for now, but I am constantly unhauling, so this will not be my last unhaul. And like I said, tune in next week for when I'm unhauling off of my TBR shelf. Gonna be fun, gonna be juicy. Maybe you can even convince me to save some of them, but we will see. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, week, month, and year, and I will see you back here next time. Thanks so much. Bye.